It's new moon, so we had to do some sage. Hello and welcome back to a Screenwriter's Secret Diary podcast. Now we have a merch. I don't know if you guys see this. Well, we don't have it yet, but it is on the way. I started with the poster and with these t-shirts. I made some notebooks. My t-shirt says, "Make space for yourself," which is from the previous episode about mindfulness and creating from a place of authenticity. I have a very exciting news before we start. We have 2 guest episodes coming up in late September or somewhere in October. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I want to open up this space for other people to share their experiences. So when an opportunity presented itself, I took it. We had 2 guests over for 2 upcoming episodes, an amazing actress with a grounding and empowering perspective, and an indie screenwriter and filmmaker who broke into Hollywood but then decided that it wasn't for her, so now she's thriving in the indie world. These are gonna be longer episodes, more like a talk show, and they're very informative, very uplifting, and packed with a lot of different perspectives. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get to this episode. Even if you're an artist, writer, filmmaker, or musician, you still have to brand yourself to appeal not only to the audience, but also to the gatekeepers. On this channel and on a Screenwriter's Secret Diary podcast, you know I don't beat around the bush. I cut to the chase and tell you how things work exactly without sugarcoating. So here's the thing. As much as I love being an artist and exploring our inner world and truth creatively, I also observe this common denominator among successful artists. They have a brand. I'm a screenwriter, and this is a Screenwriter's Secret Diary podcast, so I'm going to give examples from there. For screenwriters, genre has been a brand for so long, but we're also changing that slowly. Now, a branding technique is to brand yourself through the common themes of your stories. For example, my branding as a screenwriter is that I explore female characters who go on a journey to break out of their shell. Literally, if you Google my name, you'll see this everywhere. That's the common thread in my sci-fi stories, horror films, rom-coms, and fantasy TV shows. Even though the genres vary, the protagonist is always a woman who has to break out of the shell that society, parents, or whatever has put her in. So let's get to the step-by-step guide to branding yourself as an artist. Let's break down the process of finding and defining your brand. This isn't just for screenwriters. This applies to all artists. Musician, painter, dancer, graphic designers, video editor, you name it. Step 1 is going to be to identify your core themes. Start by reflecting on your past work. What themes or messages do you find yourself returning to again and again and again? For example, do you always explore identity, struggle, transformation, or resilience? Make a list of these recurring themes. Exercise. Take a few minutes to write down the main themes you've noticed in your work, and don't overthink it. Just write whatever comes to your mind. Step 2 is going to be define your unique voice. Your voice is what makes your work uniquely yours. It's how you express those core themes in a way that only you can do it. This could be through the tone of your writing, the way you use color in your paintings, or the specific chord you use in your music or specific melody. Let's do an exercise. Write a paragraph describing your artistic voice. Imagine explaining it to someone who's never encountered your work before. How would you convey what makes your style distinct? I also have another video for this. I'll put it at the end of this one, or I'll also put a link down below. It's called 3 Steps to Finding Your Unique Voice, and the thumbnail says become a brand. There are exercises in that video and questions for you to slowly figure out your unique voice and your unique brand. I recommend checking that one right after this one if you're really serious about branding yourself as an artist. Step 3 is going to be clarify your audience. Who are you creating for? Understanding your audience is really important because your brand should resonate with them, right? Are they young adults seeking inspiration? Are they professionals looking for relatable stories? Or are they people escaping their reality like the book talk audience we see on TikTok? Maybe you write fantasy romance to that audience, right? Figure that out. Pinpointing your audience helps you tailor your brand to connect with them on a deeper level. I really don't suggest creating just for an audience or writing a story just to reach to specific people, but just think about, like, brainstorm about who your audience would be. You can also think about yourself. Are you also your own audience? For example, I write fantasy and sci-fi stories, and I read and consume sci-fi and fantasy, so I am also my own audience. Then from there, you can create things that people like you would enjoy. Let's do an exercise here. Create a simple profile of your ideal audience member. What are their interests, values, and struggles? How does your work speak to them? And why does it speak to them? Step 4 is going to be craft your brand statement, like mine that I shared at the beginning. So after identifying your team, voice, and audience, it's time to bring it all together in a clear, concise brand statement. This is a 1 or 2 sentence summary, almost like a log line, of who you are as an artist and what you stand for. Let's do an exercise again. Using the insights and paragraphs you wrote in the previous steps, write your brand statement. It might look like something like this. I'm a painter who explores the tension between nature and urban life, using bold colors and abstract forms to evoke emotion and reflection. Or it might look like this. I'm an author who writes fantasy YA for people who look for inspiration and do-overs, like new beginnings and things like that. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. Step 5 is going to be consistently communicate your brand. Your brand isn't just a statement. It's something you consistently communicate through your work, your social media, your website, and even how you talk about your art should be like your brand statement. Be intentional about how you present yourself and your work to the world. Another exercise for this, review your online presence, your social media profiles, website, and portfolio. Are they aligned with your brand statement? Make a list of any updates or changes you need to make to ensure that your brand is clear and consistent. I also have some journaling exercises for deeper reflection, because I know sometimes like we decide on a brand statement, but we like exploring, so not all of our stories or not all of our work is that, because first of all, we're not a robot, right? We're human. We talk about this a lot in this podcast. Like, we can't just keep writing sci-fi about robots. No, I can also write something like Bonnie Screws Up, which got sold, and it's about a Spanish actress in Hollywood who's trying to live life according to her agent's needs and her mother's needs, and she can't think of herself as a separate entity who has her own feelings and her own wants and needs. So I can also write about that because I'm a human being. So I think these journaling exercises will help. Let's say, what drives me to create? What motivates me to keep making art? Understanding this can help you tap into your authentic brand. Another one, what do I want my audience to feel or think after experiencing my work? Reflect on the impact you want to have on other people. Another one, what fears or doubts do I have about branding myself, and how can I overcome them? Branding can really feel daunting. It felt that way for me. But facing these fears head on will really empower you to move forward confidently. Let's look at some real world examples, okay, to see how different artists have successfully branded themselves. J.K. Rowling, for example, known for creating magical worlds with themes of love, loyalty, friendship, and the battle between good and evil. Her brand is really rooted deep in fantasy and deep emotional storytelling. Banksy, the mysterious street artist whose brand is about political activism and social commentary. The anonymity of him or her adds to the intrigue, making his brand even stronger. Billie Eilish, a musician who branded herself with a distinct voice and style. She's a bit moody, introspective, and unapologetically weird and emotional. Her brand resonates deeply with her audience, especially younger listeners, right? So that's the framework for branding yourself as an artist. Remember, your brand isn't something you create overnight. Okay, take your time, check out that video I told you guys, because that one literally talks about week 1, do these exercises, week 2, do these exercises. So don't expect to figure out your brand like overnight or in a day. It's gonna take time, it's gonna change, because we're humans, we change too. So your brand might change too. Be open, be flexible. It's not set in stone. It can evolve as you grow as an artist. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts with me. I'm curious. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, please like it, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and allows me to keep bringing you content that supports your journey as an artist, as a writer, as a filmmaker. I'll see you next time.